This week is our special year-end episode where we look back at the top 10 episodes of the PR Maven podcast based on total downloads of each episode in 2019. Welcome to the PR Maven podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I've been strengthening brands through PR for over 35 years, and now I'm celebrating the success of executives, influencers, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world, all of whom have cultivated their brands and broadened their networks through traditional and digital networking methods. Each week, I interview one of these interesting and influential individuals and provide an opportunity for you, the PR Maven Nation, to gain insights from their strategies and stories. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. As we reflect on 2019, I want to share how much fun I had connecting with our guests and listeners each week. As a reminder, you can always reach out to me on our PR Maven podcast listener line at 207-620-9075. And speaking of our listeners, let's kick off our top 10 countdown based on the episode with the most downloads. Coming in at number 10 on our list is episode number 62 and my interview with Kurt Klyden, president of Klyden & Associates, who talked about obstacles to success, such as trying to convince a client to have a twist that draws attention to their brand.
One of the obstacles is trying to convince others when you're trying to sell them on a message, which is what we do in marketing. You sell someone on a technique or a message here. Trying to let people realize that having a twist on your brand, giving it personality, is not something that you should be afraid of. This is the heart of it. I walk into many client meetings where the owner, the marketing director, whoever we're working with, wants to achieve a goal. They want to have more sales, or they want to drive more donations for the nonprofit organization. But there is an inherent fear of doing something that's different than what they're seeing out there, which I think is key to making more of an impact on a greater scale.
At number 9 is episode number 57 with Megan Crowder of Marshall Communications. Her episode was awesome, and here's a clip from when she explained how important PR and social media are to her own personal growth and the growth of her clients. So Megan, give me an example how PR and social media have helped to advance you personally, your organization, or a client.
Social media has helped me drastically personally because it's really grown my career. So when I started out, it was like we were talking about earlier, organic and native. And now it's growing more to advertising and paid. So I am learning, and it's growing me as a social media practitioner in my career. But it's also helped our clients. My knowledge of social media has helped our clients reach their goals on social.
At number 8 is episode number 55 with Alf Anderson, Executive Director of the Bar Harbor Chamber of Commerce. Alf shared how the Bar Harbor Chamber of Commerce uses PR and social media to create brand loyalists. So can you give me an example, Alf, of how PR and social media have helped to advance you personally or the Bar Harbor Chamber of Commerce?
I think it's, I would say more the Bar Harbor Chamber. I'm not overly active personally on social, but the Chamber for sure takes advantage of, the great work that Marshall does in our PR program, social media programs. We really focus on engagement, especially on social media. We're really trying to create brand loyalists, people that will do the work for us after, right? You see some great photos on our site. You might have experienced that at a previous visit, or you might be planning your visit and now that's part of your agenda. And we hear from people day in and day out, this was our vacation, I remember this spot, the photo you're sharing. So we really work hard to create and cultivate those brand loyalists. And it's really benefited us in a great way, because as a membership organization, we rely on our members to sort of allow us to do the work that we do, and by being able to demonstrate the engagement and the love that people have of the things we're doing and the area and the photos and all that, delivering on that value to our members is really what keeps us moving forward. So those are probably the most key takeaways for us in terms of PR, social media. It's really driving engagement to sort of create those people who love the place and keep them coming back.
Number 7 on the list this year is episode number 64 with Patrick Breeding, project manager at Lobster Unlimited. I enjoyed helping connect Patrick's personal mission to personal branding and how the University of Maine is helping to prevent the brain drain in Maine. Hats off to the University of Maine for having that program that attracted you here from Connecticut and then has kept you, because we talk so much in the state of Maine about the brain drain and keeping young people here. But this is an example of a program that drew you here. And hopefully through this whole web of resources, we are, as a state, are going to keep you here and learning more about lobsters and not only learning and discovering, but also the commercialization.
Yeah.
So it's so very exciting.
Yeah. I can't speak more to the people that actually can't speak more of the people that take the time to actually sit down with people like me and tell me their stories and share things and, offer their time. Because, there are people like that all over the world, but it's important to keep people here. You need these mentors, and you also need to highlight success stories to make people understand that it's possible. So it's so cool when I go and, I'm not some acclaimed speaker or anything like that, but even going to just K through 12 schools and giving like 30-minute talks and telling them, oh, yeah, I worked on this project where we were using crazy chemical catalysis to clear waters. Then I worked on this project where this lab was using pulp from the paper industry to make artificial bones. Then I worked on this project where we use lobsters to treat all these diseases. And they're just like, what? I thought that only happened in Boston. It's like, nope.
Right.
Nope. It's actually right next door.
It's great. And number 6 is my interview with John Yanarelli, retired FBI agent. During his episode, number 59, he explained how his career started as a police officer in San Diego before being recruited into the FBI.
Well, first of all, I started off as a police officer years ago in San Diego, and I always had a desire to join the FBI. So back then, you had to be a lawyer or an accountant. So I went to law school nights, got my law degree, practiced for a while, and eventually got recruited into the FBI, where I spent about 21 years working as a special agent.
Wow. Well, being a lawyer and a special agent in the FBI, those are major accomplishments. So my hat's off to you. I really admire you because you obviously had goals and you persevered and you had tenacity and grit. And that's definitely what it takes to be successful in a career. So congratulations.
Well, thanks. Being cop, lawyer, FBI agent, I've gone from one hated profession to another.
Episode 63 comes in number 5 on our list of the top 10 podcast episodes of the PR Maven podcast for 2019. In this episode, I talked with Jim Peacock, principal and owner of Peak Careers Consulting, about how to find your right career path. In episode 63, he hit on a lot of great topics, and I love what he said about how career consulting has changed and how Jim helps coaches guide others into their careers.
It's not an elevator pitch, something that you memorize. It's really 5 or 6 essential things. And sometimes I'm going to spend 15 minutes talking about it. Sometimes I'm going to spend a few minutes. But you want to go talk to people that you know, like, and trust and ask them, what else is out there? And that's where you're going to discover, oh, you know what? People keep saying, hey, you should have your own business, or people keep saying, hey, this is a great direction for you, or have you ever thought about this? That comes from getting your value added statement packaged up, and then the process is really to go out and talk to people, explore, and look at options, because I really want people to look at options. It's what I call intentional serendipity.
Number 4 features Michelle Hood, who at the time of the recording was president and CEO of Northern Light Health. She is leaving to become Chief Operating Officer and Executive Vice President of the American Hospital Association. In episode 54, I enjoyed what she said about Northern Light's chart that helps the organization grow.
We shake up our organization quite a lot too. We have, I call it the chart, but it's a pretty comprehensive roadmap of all the active teams in the organization, and constantly going back to the chart and saying, are we spending people's time in the right places? Are we opening up those opportunities for growth and learning and trying new things by having resources, including the resource of time, which is sometimes the most critical, so that we can make advancements, that we can try new things, that we can innovate, that we can do things from a multidisciplinary perspective rather than just have the finance guys look at the finance stuff and the ops guys look at the ops.
Before we hit the top 3 podcasts of the year, I want to remind you about how to find the PR Maven podcast flash briefing on Alexa. If you have an Alexa device, or perhaps you received one over the holidays, you can enable the skill to receive the daily PR Maven podcast flash briefing with tips and advice from each episode. You can learn more about how to use Alexa's features and subscribe to the podcast at prmaven.com/podcast. Let's take a quick break. I'll come back with the rest of the countdown and the top 3 podcast episodes of the year. This podcast is all about growing your network in order to strengthen your brand. In my 30-plus year marketing and PR career, I have seen many organizations waste their precious time and money on marketing because they're trying to obtain success without any strategy to achieve their goals. So many organizations and companies suffer from what I call the shiny object syndrome, trying every new fad that comes down the pike. That's why I created the Marshall Plan 15 years ago. We have done over 100 of these plans for clients, helping them to get out of their day-to-day routine to identify their goals, solidify their brand story, focus in on their ideal customer avatar, analyze their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and create a realistic budget and measurement dashboard. We create the Marshall Plan collaboratively with our clients over the course of 3 months. We have a 65-step process to create a highly customized, actionable plan. And it's not like we come in and say, we are the consultants from away and we know everything. Instead, we come in and say, let's sit down at the table with your leadership team and we'll bring our expertise in what's working in PR and marketing. And our client team brings their knowledge of what's working in their organization. And together, we come up with a really amazing plan. For many, it's been a transformative process. I have watched how teams have come together and their faces light up because they have such a sense of accomplishment and they're so excited about the future of their organization. We help our client figure out the best way to implement the plan, sometimes using people within their organization and sometimes with our help. We would love to chat with you about how you can expand your network and achieve your marketing goals with a Marshall Plan. Go to marshallpr.com/MarshallPlan to learn more about the process, or better yet, send me an email at nancy@prmaven.com and we'll set up a time to talk and get started. And now back to our conversation. Welcome back, PR Maven Nation. Let's dive right back into the countdown of the top 10 episodes of 2019 of the PR Maven podcast. Coming in at number 3 is my interview with Sean Riley, President and CEO of Main Course Hospitality Group. In episode number 61, the highlight of the interview was when he told a story about how he learned how to use Snapchat and how it helps to communicate with new, younger generations.
But I can Snap, and I do Instagram. So,
Yeah, so you do Snapchat.
yeah,
And what do you put on Snapchat?
stupid pictures. Actually, we had a couple of years ago, we had a company annual event. We have about 150, 160 people go to it. And I told everybody they had to have Snap. And we're going to be snapping that night. Anybody who didn't, I was going to call up on stage and ask them to do something or whatever. So everybody was doing it. All kinds of people never had an idea what to snap. But we had 75 of our associates all up there snapping and learning. So I think I had the mantra when it comes to technology or any of that stuff is that we have to stay relevant. You know, I'm no longer a kid anymore. I'm over 60, and but I say, you know, it doesn't matter our age if you stay relevant with that kind of stuff. I mean, our associates are millennials. I'm a baby boomer. I still have to stay relevant and be able to communicate with them in their style. But there's other people in our company that have to keep communicating their style, and I handwrite notes. So you got to take people from where they're at.
Coming in at number 2 is the episode with Chip Carey, who was my boss at Sugarloaf when I first started working there in my 20s. And he's the retired chief marketing officer at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. Chip and I go way back. So in episode 56, it's no surprise that we did some reminiscing about how Chip taught me how to use great photos and videos from Sugarloaf to get them onto the Weather Channel the good old-fashioned way.
I always looked at skiing, probably because of my back time as a very visual sport. And so, you know, I was a still photographer, but when I finally got the opportunity to get in one of the offices at Sugarloaf, I found a 16 millimeter camera, and that opened up television for me, and that was really awesome.
Right. And then, so speaking of being a runner, then you figured out, and again, you taught me like how to get photos or video down to the Weather Channel.
Oh yeah.
And
put it on airplanes and stuff like that. But you know, if you think about it, I mean, it's all about building relationships. You know, it wasn't, you know, I didn't just start sending stuff, 16 millimeter film to the TV stations without going ahead and visit them and warning them that was coming and open up relationships. And no matter what you do, our business of marketing and PR is all about communications. And if you're not communicating with the people all the time on a regular basis, you're not gonna build a relationship you're gonna need when you really want to have something done for you.
Coming in at number 1, drum roll please, episode number 60, and our 1-year anniversary party episode with Lieutenant Tim Cotton of the Bangor, Maine Police Department. For those of you who were at the party, you'll remember how much fun we had, including kidnapping the Duck of Justice. Now, if you weren't there, hopefully you can make it next year. And in the meantime, enjoy this highlight clip from Tim Cotton's episode, the number 1 episode of 2019, when he talked about how he got the job of managing the Bangor Police Department's Facebook page and what he did to grow the page. What was your intention when you started out, and how has that changed, and how do you know it's working?
Well, the bottom line was I didn't really want the job to begin with, but it came with the job that I took as public information officer. So after we took over, and one of the jobs of the public information officer is to obviously update the Facebook page. So I started doing it, and I thought it was boring, and it was. And so I talked to the police chief, and he acquiesced that I could do what I wanted as long as I didn't talk about politics or religion, and that was an obvious, faux pas. So I just started writing it in stream of consciousness and doing what I wanted to do, and writing posts that were extremely long with a lot of commas, no pictures, and it took off. It took off immediately. I just think we came in at a time when police were not well loved. Not that we're well loved today, don't get me wrong, but maybe it's better than it was in 2014. So we just tried to tell our story and take the narrative back and do it ourselves instead of letting the media do it. And so we did, and that's what we did. So it took off, it immediately started working, and I was seeing huge increases weekly, 1,000, 2,000 more likes a week, on the page, and then NPR picked us up for Morning Edition on the 4th of July, because I had written something completely stupid but they liked it, and they asked me to read it to patriotic music for Morning Edition. I said, yeah, whatever you want. So we did that, and that really got the ball rolling. NPR kind of took us from 10,000 to 20,000 likes in the course of maybe a week and a half. And the ball just kept going. So I just kept doing the same thing. I got a lot of calls from professionals in social media that said I was doing it wrong, and I said, okay, then, have a great day. Thanks for calling. But they said, don't write so long, and more pictures, and you're just carrying on too long. And I said, well, how many likes does your page have? Because that's all. I didn't even know algorithms. I didn't know about anything about it. I just said, well, every week we get 1,000 more likes, and it works, so I'm going to keep doing it.
You got rhythm.
Yeah, it never stopped. So that's where we're at. We're at almost 300. We're a little over 300,000 followers, but
you are what we call an influencer.
Maybe, obviously,
like the
incorrect.
Kardashians.
Similar, very similar to the Kardashians.
Congratulations to Lieutenant Tim Cotton for being the #1 episode, and earlier this year, he received the PR Maven Golden Microphone Award as our most popular guest ever. Thanks to Tim for sharing the podcast with his huge fan base and to all of our guests over the course of the year. I would also like to thank Tanner Campbell, owner of the Portland Pod, and audio engineer, for editing all of our 2019 episodes, as well as this highlight reel. I also want to thank the podcast producers at Marshall Communications, Greg Glynn and Emma Dimmick, for all their hard work this year on scheduling guests, show rundowns, and all the behind-the-scenes work that make this podcast tick. As we look ahead to 2020, I look forward to continuing to build on the success of this podcast and grow my relationship with our loyal listeners like you. Before we close out on 2019, I also want to thank you for being part of PR Maven Nation, and I hope that you've joined the group on Facebook, the PR Maven Nation group. And this podcast would not be possible without you, our loyal listener. I am grateful for your support and wish you a happy and healthy 2020. And as always, remember to keep building your relationships and embracing new technology. Have a great new year, PR Maven Nation. That's it for this week's episode. I'd like to thank you for listening, and if you feel that you've gotten value out of today's conversation, consider leaving a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever app you're using to tune in. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should do so. I release a new episode each week, and subscribing will make sure you get an alert when there's a new episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation by going to prmaven.com/nation and clicking join. It's free, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you have an Alexa-enabled device, be sure to add the PR Maven Marketing Minute to your daily flash briefing menu. Thanks again for listening, and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.